And Justice Alexander, you're live right now.
Yep. Thank you. It's good. Thank you very much for getting it going. I'm just sort of quickly checking around here and seeing if we've got a quorum, and it looks like we do. So anyways, I think I'm ready to proceed with the meeting unless anybody has any issues or concerns before. It's after the time, so whatever. Good morning, everybody. This is a meeting of the Apportionment Commission scheduled at 9:30 this morning. We have a quorum, and so we're getting ready to proceed with the meeting. And thank you very much for participation. I want to also thank all the folks who have sent in comments, who have sort of worked with the two caucuses. We've had a tremendous amount of outreach being done by the Republicans and Democratic caucuses to the members of the Senate and the House, other interested persons, the county commissioners. We've even, as a result of some communication with the offices, we've even got a full proposal for a county commissioner district today. So anyways, I'm ready to proceed and all. Is there anything anybody else wants to address or needs to address before we begin with the going over the minutes? Anything preliminary from anything else? And say good morning to you all. And again, thank you for participating. And I also want to thank everybody for the hard work that you've really done the last several weeks. We have a lot of progress towards perhaps getting some maps that are going to be able to be distributed for sort of public comment fairly soon. And I really appreciate that because between the technology and just the need for communication of a lot of interested people, it's been very important to get that. And we'll get more communication looking at the standards we're going to be applying today. Anything else anybody have preliminary before we get to the looking at the review of the minutes? Okay. First item on the agenda is review and approval of the draft minutes from the August 18th meeting. Anybody have any comments or suggestions about that? Taking a quick look over the.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move their approval.
Okay, thank you, Senator Bennett. Do I have a second on that? Representative Dumfrey, thank you very much. All in favor? Say, and okay, anybody opposed, just speak up. Otherwise, we'll consider them approved. Okay, I consider the minutes approved then. Thank you very much. At this point, we're going to move to a discussion of the various issues that we have. And I want to thank very much the Julie Flynn, the Deputy Secretary of State for Education for Elections, among other things. She actually has several jobs, but the one we're focusing on is education today, or as elections today. Jonathan Bolton from the Assistant Attorney General, who is representing us, is available to participate in the discussions. And I've also asked David Emery and Greg Olson, representing respectively the Republican and Democratic offices that are working on this, to also be available and to offer comments on these various standards and sections and things like that. The first thing I had was, and this is something the commission circulated a week or so ago, a little more than a week ago, was the sort of population breakdowns and all what the medians are for the congressional districts, the Senate districts, the House districts, and the county commissioner districts, and the populations, just to give sort of a uniform set of guidance to everybody and what we're having. Any comments on that from any of the members of the commission? Okay. Comments from John Bolton, Julie Flynn, you want to have any comments you want to offer on that? Okay.
I don't have anything.
Okay.
I don't have anything. I thought that, I really appreciated the listing of preferences and trying to keep those in mind to the extent that the commission can.
Well, I'm going to ask you about those in a little bit, because I am going to ask you to comment on those, because we're all trying to, that's one of the primary issues is I know in talking to the two offices is how do we avoid dividing municipalities or having to have polling places have more than one set of ballots? I'm going to ask you to speak about that when we get to it.
Okay.
Dave Emery, any comments on the population issues list? Okay. Or Greg Olson, any comments on that? Okay. Thank you then.
I think they need to be let in, don't they?
Oh, they aren't part of the meeting? Oh, I thought they were.
They're in the attendee space. I'm happy to, they're promoted now. Yep.
Okay. Can we get them in, Emery, if there weren't? Julie was in already, so I thought that Dave and Greg Olson were too.
I'm suddenly live with a strange looking name, but here I am.
There he is. All right. And we have Greg Olson. Okay. Thank you, Dave, for participating, and thank you, Greg Olson, participating. Any comments you want to offer on the population breakdowns, the medians, the plus and five minus plus minus 5% that we have in there, anything like that? Dave, anything you want to offer? You need to unmute, Dave.
Okay, how's that? Technology is wonderful.
Now we can hear you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think your summary was correct. As you know, there's a different standard for House, Senate, County Commissioner seats than there is for congressional seat.
Yes.
So we operate under the premise that County Commissioner districts, State House and State Senate will be plus or minus 5%. I've heard some commentary that you are right if the spread is 10% overall, but that allows some funky districts where you might have one that's high 6 or low 6. And we've always adhered to the plus or minus 5% principle, which I think is more in line with what the courts have required in the past. So specifically on the county commissioner districts, there are 6 that do not need any adjustment. There are probably 9 that need only minor adjustments. And I think the complicated one is Knox because of the way the population is distributed. And there are a number of ways to fix that one without cutting towns. So I see no reason that we should have any difficulty with the county commissioner maps staying within that parameter. And I think the same applies to the State House and State Senate as well, although, as we know, there are some cases where a minimal number of towns will have to be split in order to comply. The key word being minimal.
Okay. Greg Olson, any comments you want to make on the population thing? We'll get to the sort of, the preferences next. But
sure. I would just say that we are generally in agreement on this. The plus and minus 5% is guiding all of the plans and proposals that we develop, and our aim is to be within that. Maybe perhaps with a variation for the sake of compromise or avoiding dividing towns, but our core principle is to follow these guidelines as they've been laid out.
Great. Okay. Do any commissioners have any questions for Dave Emery, Greg Olson, John Bolton, or Julie Flynn with regard to the number breakdowns? We're going to get into the preferences next, but with regard to the number breakdowns, do any commissioners have any questions with regard to those? Okay. Seeing no hands, then I'm going to move to the preferences and the preferences, item number 5 on the agenda, have been really developed from what's been stated in our Constitution in some areas, in our statutes, and in the various law court opinions that have come down over the years, discussing preferences and things like that. And that's how they were developed as sort of a priority and criteria. And I know particularly Julie Flynn has had particular concerns that we're all trying to address to assure that however the districts are developed, we try to minimize splitting up of voting areas, be it municipalities or sometimes smaller units in cities. They don't have to have too many. We have a very useful, and I thank a comment from the Portland City Clerk, commenting that I guess within Portland, they have like sort of 21 different ballots they have to do. And that's part of some of the choices they made in allocating council districts and wards and all, but it's certainly a challenge. I wonder, Julie, if you could perhaps make some comments about the preferences and how they might be applied and considered, and good practices in doing that, both for our commission work and for those who might be observing and making suggestions to the program also. Julie, go ahead.
Muted myself, sorry. Well, thank you for the opportunity. And I think I'd start by saying that the bracketed language below the list of preferences is extremely important. I mean, as an administrator, I understand that it's not possible to have no splits, and especially if you're trying to keep the other preferences in mind of keeping communities of interest together and some of those things. To the extent you can limit having multiple House and Senate splits in the same town, that's helpful because that's town or city, that's where the greater number, it's not if you have a House split in a town, they have two ballot styles. If it's a pretty well-defined line where the split occurs, that's better than having something that's really going out of their way to include a different town, and instead of having the line be more compact for the district. So if you can go along middle of a street, a major street or highway within a town, that's better. Trying not in the less populous areas to go along natural features, which, railroad beds are not always easy to discern if there's no longer any track there. Sometimes stream beds don't have water in them. It's not apparent to somebody where that goes. And I understand that unfortunately some of the blocks and tracks are drawn along natural features rather than roads or streets or live railroads. So, these are all things that it's easy to say in the abstract. I understand very well it's hard to do, but go back to, and I think this is what you're talking about with keeping smaller districts within larger districts as much as possible. I mean, theoretically, 8 years ago, Portland was split into 2 Senate districts, and there were 8 House districts. If it had been possible to keep the House district lines within that same, corridor where the split became with the 2 Senate districts, and having, 4 on one Senate district and 4 on the other. Again, it's a great goal. I know it's really hard to achieve when you're actually looking at where these blocks are and what the population is, and trying to hit these targets that are different for House and Senate and then counties. So that's I guess the best hope I can offer. We'll work with whatever we get, and we will make it work. And we got pretty good at it 8 years ago. I think we've got a lot of the same team here ready to get the districts into our central voter registration database and make sure that voters are put into the right districts. So we're here as a resource if you need us.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Before I ask for questions and all, Jonathan Bolton, do you have any comments on the sort of the preferences section of the matter?
Well, I think the preferences are I don't have any disagreement at all with these preferences. I think they make perfect sense, and obviously they, as it says in the agenda, they have to be balanced against the need for equal districts. So, but I think this is a good statement of the various considerations.
Okay. Does anybody, any of the members of the commission have any questions they want to ask either Julie Flynn or Jonathan Bolton? Any members of the commission have any questions about the preferences and questions they want to ask or comments they want to make? Okay. Okay. Seeing none, does Dave Emery or Greg Olson, do either of you have any comments or suggestions regarding the preferences, the order of preferences and how they're applied and things like that? Okay.
I think you're spot on, Mr. Chairman, with respect to the list, and that is pretty much the same list we've always operated under. The key question, as Julie Flynn mentioned, is that we know these are all trade-offs. And I think the only thing I would add to the discussion is that when you talk about compactness, we usually consider that compactness is driven to a degree by the geography. In other words, there's no House district or Senate district that stays within the Somerset County boundary, for example, that isn't going to be long and thin. It's not compact, but it complies with one of the other criteria, which is trying to stay within subdivision boundaries. So you run across that, and if you have a choice of going outside of a county or staying in a county, the question really shouldn't be compactness as the primary consideration, but it probably should be whether or not you have to split the town or the county to do it. So I think our hierarchy would be population first, not crossing subdivision boundaries, either county or municipality if it can be avoided, and then of course applying all the others as you can do.
Okay, thank you. Greg Olson, any comments?
I would just offer that, we really appreciate the input from Julie Flynn and the Division of Elections, and I will say that these are factors that obviously we will add to the sort of multiple balancing acts that we do, and certainly respect the public policy and good government arguments for why we should be respecting these preferences as best we can and making sure that the administration of elections are a factor in how these districts come together. And I just ask for understanding from various officials and commission members that this is a balance between a variety of constitutional, statutory, and sort of administrative needs. So thank you for coming in on the front end of this and being an active participant in the construction of these plans.
Okay. And Senator Jackson, I see you have a question or a comment.
Thank you, Justice Alexander. I appreciate that. Well, I'm speaking for the state Senate, Democratic state Senate. Having gone through this before and having had a agreement where we got a 2/3 vote, and I think it was nearly unanimous. It's our belief that the districts are relatively close as it is now. I mean, obviously population drives changes, but I think, already, there is a commitment between all sides that, a majority of districts and the maps that we've drawn, 0% of the voters will have a different representative. We should not have incumbents run against each other if it's possible. And I certainly think from the maps that, we worked at this point, there's every avenue to do that. I think that we should not split more towns and districts. I believe that we can actually lessen the amount that we already have now. But I do think that, one of the top priorities should be that communities of interest stay together. That's something that, people just understand. They understand their areas better than we do, and those communities of interest should stay together. So that's what, we've been working towards. I believe the entire commission's been working towards, and because it's the public meeting, it's possibly the first time that some people have had that opportunity to hear that, but I think it's really important that we commit to that overall as a commission. And thank you very much, Justice, for the work that you've done to keep us on track towards that goal.
Okay, well, thank you very much, President Jackson. I appreciate those observations, and you are correct, by the way, that some of the criteria which have been recognized by the courts include trying to avoid having incumbents run against each other if we can do it, and with the small changes we have this time, that's a legitimate issue to consider along with the others. Plus, of course, keeping, as you point out, communities together. And I know that's something you are working on. That is an appropriate criteria and comment also. So thank you very much for those additional observations that helped fill it out. And I want to say also thank you particularly for, I know you've been here around the last couple of weeks and doing a lot of work on this, along with all else you have to do as Senate President. But I commend the time you've put in on this effort to go forward, where hopefully we're going to be getting some maps that we can talk about and hopefully agree on maybe sometime next week. Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions to anybody from the commission? Okay, that point we move to the congressional districts. Item number 6 on the agenda basically talks about how we do the congressional districts, and as Dave Emery's already pointed out, and I agree, the sort of 10% and 5% breakdowns don't work here. The opinions that have been issued by the Supreme Court and by some of the apportionment decision making has already made that clear. We've got to, here in the congressional districts, work as hard as we can to get as close to a difference of 1 as possible. And at this point, that's we have to get a breakdown to, we have 23, actually it's the difference of voters we have to move from one district to another is 23,031 and a half. But I rounded it up to 32. Now, Senator Libby, if we could get you to move so you sort of straddle Androscoggin County where you represent and Kennebec County, we might be able to get an absolute division of 23.5. But I don't know that that's possible or a good idea. But anyways, any comments on the congressional districts, the breakdowns, the median there, and the recognition as Senator Jackson and Dave Emery have already pointed out that the usual 5 and 10% divisions do not apply here. There is no question that we must reapportion the congressional districts with a much smaller division than would occur. In reality, if we applied the so-called the 10% rule, we theoretically wouldn't have to do the congressional districts. But there is no question under the law that we do have to redo the congressional districts. Any comments, observations on that? Any questions from commission members? Okay. Any comments or observations from Dave Emery or Greg Olson on the congressional districts? Dave's been doing these congressional districts since actually before I became a judge.
Yeah, it's a little scary thought, but it is true. No, your analysis is exactly right. And the trick is to get down to that lowest possible number, which I should say some people in the press have opined in the past that it's just a matter of moving 23,000 people or so from one place to another. But in order to get to that low number, it's a little more complicated because some towns will undoubtedly have to go in and others will have to go out, because it's just a matter of finding the right combination that gets you there. And hopefully in the final analysis, it can be done easily without displacing people that don't need to be displaced. You know,
Okay,
which is a way of saying leaving the major communities that are already in place where they are. And, you know, I think there are ways to accomplish that.
Okay. Greg Olson, any comments on that?
I think my only comment is that, you know, we are in agreement that the chief objective here is to get the populations as close to absolute equity as possible, perhaps with minor variation for the purposes of protecting communities of interest and obviously not dividing towns. So we are approaching this from the same perspective.
Yeah, and I understand you already have been talking with the other side with Dave Emery about this, right? So you're working on something.
That's correct.
Okay, good. Any comments from Julie Flynn or John Bolton on the congressional districts? Okay.
Well,
I'm
Go
good.
ahead.
I would just say I also agree. You know, mathematical equality is pretty much the goal, and in this with congressional districts. And I would just also say that to the extent there's deviations from that, and there's a legal challenge, there has to be a strong reason that the state can put forward to defend why it's anything less than, you know, a de minimis variation between the two districts.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or observations from members of the commission to with regard to any of the folks who have spoken? And don't be afraid to speak up if because I may not see all the hands or things like that. I'm quickly looking over the commission list and all. And I'll say I very much appreciate your participation in all of this. Seeing no questions, observations about the congressional districts, I'll move on to the item number 7, the county commissioner districts. And I want to say, first of all, with regard to the county commissioner districts, that, and I think I've circulated to all of you, after some considerable work, the Somerset County Commission was able to develop a proposed plan. And they provided it to us yesterday morning. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it out to the commission until today because it was sent to my email, and for some reason it went to spam, even though it was an email from a government agency. And I regret that. Luckily, I happened to check my spam account last night, which I regularly do, and saw it there, and then distributed it to the commission this morning. But I want to, at this point, commend the Somerset County commissioners for getting together and developing a plan. And and it looks like it's something that was within the so-called the 5% either side guidelines. We actually it was submitted by Don DiBiase, the Somerset County executive, but reflecting the considerable work of the commissioners. And I know that also there had been some contacts with the 2 caucus offices about it. So everything was done in the right way. Before I get to the county commissioners generally, any observations anybody wants to make, well, particularly Dave Emery or Greg Olson, about the Somerset County thing, which we really appreciate the contributions they've made.
Yes, I would be happy to comment. When I got the email this morning, I put the numbers on the computer, and they did a good job. The numbers are all in compliance. And they have created a map which attempts to solve a problem that Franklin County has addressed in a different way, which is to extend 2 of their county commissioner districts, districts 2 and 5, into the North Country, so that 2 of the 5 commissioners will have direct contact and input from the more rural areas. And basically they did that by running the Western district up the side of the county, the eastern, one of the 2 eastern districts up the eastern side of the county, and all the populations are within the plus or minus 5% by good margins. So from what I've seen, it's very similar to plans that we've already looked at and thought were workable. So I see no reason that we shouldn't accept this one. Just my personal opinion. The commission also has to look at it. But I think the Somerset County Commissioners should be commended for reading the statute, coming up with a plan that's workable, and it's obviously one that satisfies all of them. So as I say, I think that's a job well done. By the way, if you like, I have it up on the screen, and I can share a picture of that plan if you like, if you'd like me to share my screen and show it.
Okay, I'm a little nervous about that technology, but you're the expert in these areas.
Oh, no, this will work.
If you can get it up on the screen, we can all take a look at it. Let's see, because it's a good idea of also some of the other things that we may have to do by on these screens program, because I've hoped we'll be having live in-person meetings, or at least hybrid meetings, that people who couldn't get here could join. But it's going to be a challenge to do that because of the resurgence of the COVID. But anyways,
So hopefully you can see this. So
I can see it well on my screen. Thank you. So go ahead. I can see also all kinds of other stuff on your screen now.
Oh, you probably can. Nothing I'm ashamed of, so it's all right.
Okay.
So
There's the thing there that says trip to Las Vegas doesn't have anything in it.
No. That's, you weren't supposed to see that.
All right.
So
Okay,
anyway,
go ahead,
the first district, I think there's no change to what is currently, it's Norwich Walk and Fairfield. The second district is Mercer, Stark, Smithfield, New Portland, Anson, Madison, Central Somerset, Highland Plantation, and then this piece of unorganized territory that runs up the eastern side, the western side. The third district is the eastern part of the country, which is basically Detroit, Pittsfield, Harmony, Cambridge, and so forth. The fourth district starts at Canaan and Heartland and works up through Bingham and Moscow and Caratunk and so forth, up to Jackman. The fifth district. And the fourth district is Skowhegan and in Cornville. So what they've done is taken this huge area in the north and split it between 2 commissioners. So those 2 commissioners have direct access and input to the feelings of the people in the smaller, more rural towns. And but the populations are minus 3.3% for the Fairfield district, number 1. Number 2 is plus 3.39. The third district is plus 4.15. The fourth district is minus 1.57. The fifth district is minus 2.67, all well within compliance. And that's about it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And let me comment to the rest of the commissioners that Dave Emery has done all of this since this was emailed to him at about 6:45 this morning. So thank you very much for this work and comments. Keep the map up there.
Sure.
Greg Upton, do you have any comments on the Somerset County thing?
Yes, I do. I just want to, frankly, extend thanks to the officials from Somerset County. for submitting a complete plan with their ideas, with numbers that add up. Would be thrilled if other 15 county commissions submitted joint plans in agreement, but very pleased with this, and in principle, from my perspective, it's an agreeable map.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. And I would point out that the commission solicited comments or ideas or plans from county commissioners, I think in either June or July. And so it's not as if this is something that's come out of the blue, and this has been great. And I understand there has been some back and forth between the county commissioners and the caucus offices that led to this. So thank you very much. And Dave, you can take your computer down. Thank you very much for the map. Appreciate that very much. And anybody else have any comments, suggestions, observations about the county commissioners thing? As I said to the commissioners in my email this morning, I'm not going to call for a vote on that now because we just got it. But certainly at our next meeting, we would be voting on the Somerset County Commissioners plan to do, and hopefully some others that we can develop in that time too. The other observations I had about the county commissioner districts and apportionment thing, as I said, there are 6 districts that do not need any change. And right now, as I understand from talking with commission members, from talking with staff and consultants, we do not anticipate any changes. Those districts are Hancock, Kennebec, Lincoln, Oxford, Saginaw, and Washington. There are then 4 county commissioner districts that have, one district that's significantly out of proportion with the others, although when you look at them all, they're within the 10% range, but it's a pretty broad range. And those counties may need some minor adjustments, which I think we're working on, as I understand it, from me talking to the 2 offices. And those counties are Cumberland County, Franklin County, Penobscot County, and York County. And then the remainders of the counties need some major revisions because of the changes in divisions and population. Also, of course, the challenges in working commissioner districts into voting districts and all to get all of this. Any observations or suggestions generally with regard to the county commissioner districts? I see a hand from Rick Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I heard you say that your expectation would be that we'd be voting on the Somerset plan at our next meeting. I don't know when the next meeting is, but I'm a little concerned about not providing an opportunity for public comment on any of these plans prior to a vote. So I hope that as we think about our work ahead, we incorporate something I think, and I've heard from other members on both sides of the aisle, this very important notion of making sure we give ample time for public comment. I too commend Somerset County, but I don't think we want to be doing all this piecemeal without giving the public an opportunity to look at our work and comment on it overall.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why I said, and when I said in my email this morning, we're not going to vote on this today. We'll do it.
No, you said at our next meeting, though, in your comments just now, and I want to make sure that we have an apparatus in place for the public to review our work and anything we're considering voting on and have a comment on it prior to a meeting.
Yep. Well, and of course, this will be out there, and any other maps will be out there too. The problem we have looking at the other end is we've basically got after today about 2 weeks before we finalize the report, and so we're going to have some things put out perhaps on shorter than the usual notice. I understand sometimes, for example, some legislative committees like to have bills they're talking about out there for a couple of weeks, and the reality is, because of our deadlines, we're not going to be able to do that. We certainly are, before we have maps that we finalize or discuss, going to be having publishing those for some period of time to allow public comment. No question about that.
I see other members have I just want to clarify my comment because in our last meeting, there was some confusion between public comment and public hearing. And I guess what I'm interested in doing is having a calendar where we can have a public hearing on what we're presenting before we vote and send it to the legislature. And with the calendar being what it is, I'm very concerned about that and making sure we make commitments on ourselves that we can meet that what I consider an obligation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Representative Parry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is more maybe to Rick. Are you trying to say that what we really need is a kind of I don't want to say deadline, but like show the county maps first the next week, maybe the Senate maps, congressional districts, maybe House maps at the end of the week so people can actually look at them? Is that what you're kind of trying to get at?
Sound about?
Yeah, I mean, my view is that in an ideal world, we've got a very limited amount of time. That, the simpler thing, because I know the House maps are still a little bit foggy and being worked on. I think basically the more districts in in a given project, congressional, Senate, county commission, House, the more total districts, the thornier it is to kind of do it. And I would like to see, just looking at the calendar, I've heard that it's not really possible for one reason or another for the legislature to go into special session the week of the 3rd of October. It has to be the week prior to that, which is the week of the 27th. That basically means that if we want to give an ample period for public hearing and public comment, it's got to be the week prior. And so what I would like to see is a specific commitment to put forward maps for the congressional seat, say Monday of next week. And those can be consensus maps or they could be, caucus alternative maps. And then by midweek, maybe Wednesday, have state Senate maps presented and available. By the end of the week, have the House district maps and hopefully maybe the county commissioner maps also available, then schedule public hearing the following week, have the public hearing and a vote by the end of that week so that it can go to the legislature. I think whether that's the right calendar or not, I think that we as a commission should take the lead in putting out a proposal, putting out a calendar of our work and commit to it so we can meet these deadlines. That's what I'd prefer to see.
Okay. Representative Brennan, I think you were the next one with your hand up.
Yeah, and I was actually going to go backwards for just 1 second to just bring to the attention of the commission. I'm sure everybody saw this, but earlier this week, I did speak to the city clerk in Portland, Kathy Jones, and she did send suggestions to the commission, but in particular, she had suggestions about District 4 in regards to the Cumberland County Commissioners. So I just wanted to make sure that to note that and say that we did get direct feedback and suggestions from her about District 4 in terms of Cumberland County.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that, and we appreciate her detailed letter, which we've all got. Senator Jackson, comment.
Yes, Justice. Well, first off, I want to once again thank you for your work here, keeping us on task on what we all recognize a very short deadline. Just to respond, as far as next week, if it's your wish, after thinking about it, after discussion, we can provide maps Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day, at any time. So I just want to be clear that, as far as Senate Democrats, we're ready whenever you think is the best time for us to show publicly our maps. So just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. Any other questions from commissioners other than that? If not, I'm going to call on Greg Olson and Dave Emery to sort of comment on the suggestions about having sort of deadlines to put maps out and things like that. Any other questions from commissioners? I don't see any more hands, but I'm not, I'm not the top tech person on this. Got me into this because, okay, could I appreciate some observations from Dave Emery and Greg Olson on this, is about when it might be possible to have sort of more maps, or if not maps, descriptions. Let's remember that what we got from the Somerset County Commissioners was descriptions. And then Dave Emery went and developed that map this morning, which is really, really helpful. But anyways, any observations from Greg Olson or Dave Emery, sort of, who are the leaders of the two caucus offices on this? Dave?
Yeah, we certainly can comply with that. The only asterisk would be the House is very complicated, and if we could do that at the end of the week, Friday maybe, if that's workable, that would give us plenty of time to work through those things and make sure that it's in apple pie order. The others, I think, are essentially ready to go now, so it could go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I think Senator Bennett's suggestion was a good one. We might choose to do the Senate Monday or Tuesday. We might choose to do the congressional districts Monday or Tuesday, county commissioners, and then just leave the House for last, which is just because of the volume of work. But I think it's a good idea if you separate them so you don't mix Senate and county commissioners or some such thing on the same day, just so people can be focused on the issues at hand for each one of those buckets.
Okay. Greg?
I would agree with David, particularly as it relates to the state house. I think we have been doing good cooperative work this week on the state house, but we're in no place to be sharing a complete plan at this point. So if that was left to the end, that would be most preferable. We're happy to share congressional maps. I don't know if it's a surprise, but we've not collaboratively met on congressional maps. So I think if we were to do that, we may just be sharing our partisan preferences. I'm not sure if that behooves us at this point, but I will defer to the judgment of the commission.
Okay. Okay, any other observations or questions about the maps, if on getting maps out for general view of the public, of the commissions and all? If not other observations, I'll have a suggestion. Okay, any other observations, questions, and say, somebody just start talking if I'm missing you.
Okay, Justice Alexander, I'll start talking.
Go ahead. Thank you, Representative.
And I appreciate the comments that are made by Senator Bennett and others. And I do think it's important at some point for us to be looking at maps, but I also would not want to prematurely put maps on the table that might be contradictory, might be not as helpful in terms of the discussions that are moving us towards a consensus maps that we could consider. So I just would caution that we clearly have a very short time frame. We do want to get the maps out and have those public discussions. But if the negotiations on the maps are going in a positive direction and seem to be fruitful, I wouldn't want to derail that or to abbreviate that in a way that's premature that would potentially put us in conflict in ways that we don't need to.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and I think that's an observation I would share. Thank you very much for those observations, Representative Brennan. What I'm going to suggest, and again, remember, you are the commission. I'm just sort of trying to, run things along. Is that I meet with. Well, I think today we can sort of hope that there's some good discussion between the caucuses about some of the map issues. I hope, what I would propose is that I meet with the representatives of the caucuses on Monday. And then after that, develop a schedule for trying to put out maps so that we have sometime next week the maps out of the Senate, the county commissioners, the congressional districts, and maybe the House maps, just from talking to both, sort of caucus officers and the people in there. And there are a lot of people in here who are working very hard, let me emphasize, to work on this. Maybe we could get a House map with some consensus on Friday, maybe not. But anyways, what I would propose, my light went out because I haven't been moving around enough. But, what I would propose is, anyways, I meet with Greg, Dave, other representatives of the caucuses on Monday, and then publish a schedule for at least the congressional, the county commissioner, and the Senate maps to be produced sometime next week. And then hopefully the House maps too, but that may take a little more discussion, and I may have to sort of mediate some discussions about. But the goal would be to perhaps get the House maps by Friday, if not, get the House maps by the following Wednesday, by the following Monday, which would be the last full week the commission has to work. We then have we'd have time to sort of get the final report together, and we have through the close of business on September 27th to get things done and out. And then after that, it'd be up to the legislature for 10 days. But anybody have any questions, observations, concerns, suggestion about that proposal? That I meet with the caucus folks on Monday, and then get out a schedule, would be late Monday, where I would effectively do it for publication of those 3 maps next week. And please, if I'm mistaken here, tell me. Does anybody think that it will be next week would be too soon for any of the congressional, Senate, or county commissioner district maps? Anybody think it would be too soon? Okay. Does anybody have any concern about me doing that in discussion with the representatives of the caucuses? And I say we've had good discussion so far, so I think that can continue with the goal of getting the maps out next week. Any concerns about that?
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
This is Rick then. I just working back, from that September 27th date. I do, and I've heard it from other people on the commission, we really need to have a public hearing on what we do. And I support your suggestion. I really would like to see us try to develop by consensus maps that we could put out next week on whatever schedule per day. You can work that out with the people drawing the maps. But it would be great, I agree with Representative Brennan, if they are by consensus, that we could put something forward that would then be subject to public review and then a public hearing. But I'd also say that if the parties can't agree, that whatever schedule that you put forward, and there aren't consensus maps, then I think there should be alternatives, maybe by the caucuses that are out there for public consideration as we work toward consensus following, because we're going to have to get to consensus on the week of the 20th in order to meet our deadline, which means we have next week for the substantive work, and then the week of the 20th if we really are committed to public hearing, which I think we are, and public comment and public review, then we're going to need that extra week for that, I believe.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Any other comments, observations? And I say, I hope we can get the house map ready by Friday also. But I'm just recognizing the difficult work and recognizing how hard people are working. I want to emphasize that on an unusual schedule. That has to involve, as it does involve, I keep going into the caucus offices, barging in sometimes. I've seen you there some, Senator Bennett. And there's a lot of people in there working, talking, giving their ideas and all. And so yeah, I hope we can get the house map out by Friday, but and hopefully it'll be a consensus one, but I'm not sure. Any other observations? Comments? Okay. What I would propose then is that I get a schedule out for next week. Should we try to have a hearing next week just to sort of take general public observations, responding to things that have come out today, or should we just then try to be more concentrated, perhaps having a couple or several hearings in the following week? Because I'd be open to having a hearing just to discuss issues and perhaps some opportunity to discuss some maps that are already out there, though perhaps not too long if we had a hearing next Thursday or Friday. But perhaps the time would be better spent getting the maps, getting more consensus. What do people think? Observations? Somebody else do some talking here.
Well, yeah, I'm at the since I've been talking, I'll continue.
Yes, good. Thank
All
you.
I'd say to that is that I was struck by one of the public comments we received, and I've been reading them, that said, you know, it's hard to comment publicly when there's nothing to comment on in substance. And I think that people would like to see some production and some ideas from the commission that they can react to rather than just comment in the vacuum.
Okay. Well, as we discussed, of course, we put out a lot of criteria here in the commission agenda and all. It was probably last week. So some of the criteria we're doing, I didn't know it at the time, but because we do have the Somerset County Commissioner districts, two that are available. So any other comments or observations about
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
You know, as somebody that was on the commission in 2013, and we were able to come to an agreement. Me, for one, I'm hoping we can come to an agreement, and because it makes it a lot easier for all sides involved. But I do think it's probably really important to have most of the stuff done next week. If we're going to have a public hearing, possibly the following Monday, we don't want to push it too close to the end of the week, because then we're right up on the deadline for Monday. And I think it's, you know, I agree with Senator Bennett. You know, we really should have a public hearing, but I also think we should have all the maps out first, because if we do it piecemeal, we'll need a half a dozen meetings, and we're going to push right up to the date and have an issue possibly there. But as I said, I'm hopeful that that Dave and Greg and the other people that are working on all this can, you know, come to a consensus from both caucuses. And you know, we were able to do it in 2013, and hopefully we can do it again here.
Okay. Any other comments, observations?
Justice Alexander, I would respect your judgment and opinion on this, but it may be that when you meet on Monday with David and Greg and other interested parties, maybe we try to meet on the 14th as a commission, and simply you give us a recommendation on what maps would be available, what the recommendations on the maps, and what the public hearing might look like going forward. And that way we're not necessarily making arbitrary decisions about what dates we're going to have public hearings, what maps are going to be there. You'd have a better sense, we'd have a better sense, and we might be able to put together a schedule that would include the public hearing, and then have some realistic expectation of what maps would be public and when they would be part of public hearings.
Okay, well, I hope to develop some expectation about when the maps are going to be public on next Monday.
Yep.
And I think Tuesday might be premature to have a discussion about that. Though I say, based on the impressions I've had from the commission so far, it looks like everybody's okay with the idea that we get the maps out, except for the house maps in the middle of next week and perhaps the house map by Friday. What I would propose is we really focus next week on getting the maps drawn, working on consensus, publishing the maps, hopefully for all four of the ones we have to do, but at least all of them but the House districts. And perhaps then let's plan a hearing for next Monday. Monday the 20th.
20th.
On the which would certainly be on the hearings, and then we might have another hearing even on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on when the House maps get published. I'd like to have a couple business days between the time the maps get published and the public hearing. So what do people think about that for scheduling a hearing, for looking at really working hard on developing maps next week, developing consensus and publishing hopefully all the maps, but at least the 3 maps of the congressional districts, the Senate districts, and the county commissioner districts. And then having a hearing certainly on those next Monday, and then having a hearing on the House map. Basically, 2 business days after it's available, or if there are competing maps, after the competing maps are available, but the hearing itself not being later than Wednesday, the 22nd. What do people think about that as an idea? And the hearing might be earlier, or if the House map get published this Thursday, which I doubt, then that would be the next Thursday, which I doubt. Then it could be heard Monday with the other 3. But this way we'd have a certainty of and therefore in terms of interested people too, for example, county commissioners' offices. Hearing on the county commissioners next, a week from Monday on the 20th. And then a hearing on the House either Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on when the map is available, and allowing a couple business days or whatever, but no later than Wednesday the 20th. And we're obviously going to have to be working on finalization of the commission report by then. And I'm actually going to start doing some drafting on that this weekend. Any suggestions, observations, questions about that?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
And that is, what is the technical format for displaying these maps when we release them? We aren't going to try to hang a paper map on a wall, I assume. I assume that there'll be some electronic copy that's presented as I did this county commissioner map. Or
that's right, as you did the county commissioner maps. And let's remember also, when we talk about maps, what we're really talking about is districts. For example, I don't know that we essentially need a map for the congressional districts. We know what we have to do with regard to the congressional districts. A map would be useful and relatively easy to draw, because what it really is be a map of, the changes with regard to Kennebec County. What we really have to do is say, okay, what municipalities are we going to move from the first to the second district to get as equal as possible, and then what municipalities might we have to move from the from the second district to the first district to get the as close to equal as possible. That's what we've got to do. So, but so because what we really would do, as the Somerset County Commissioners did, is have a list of districts. Plus, maps help the observation, obviously, but we'll see. But that's, so when I say maps, I also mean sort of, let's call it plans for the districts.
Actually, I think the congressional district map is simple. It's, I'm sure we've got them all done. They're
Yep.
easy to understand. And so, but the complicated one is going to be the House one.
Yep.
Because, a map of the whole state of Maine on a computer screen is going to be barely discernible. No one's going to be able to see the details.
We're gonna have to sort of have that by sections, maybe.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. And then if someone wants to see detail in Auburn or Portland or someplace like that, so it probably will require a day of map preparation just so you have
Yep.
those
Yeah,
15 or 16.
and that would be then available at least online. And again, maybe we could have a sort of hybrid hearing, but I'm just with the problems that have come up with COVID and all of that, and as you may know, they imposed new and stricter caution requirements around the State House on a couple of days ago, Wednesday, I think it was, around the State House, Capitol offices and things like that. But anyways, I think what we could do is try to definitely get schedule out for the maps for next week. Yes, get the maps online. They may not be able to be perfectly displayed on the screen, but it looks like we're going to have to be doing this remotely in terms of the public hearing process. Any other comments, observations? All right, then I will take it we're okay with proceeding as I suggested with my meeting with the caucus folks on Monday, getting a schedule for publication of the maps out then, which would certainly have scheduled publication of the congressional district, the Senate, and the county commissioner maps next week, and hopefully the House map next week, or let's call it House descriptions next week. With the hearing certainly for next Monday for the for the Senate, the county commissioner districts, and the congressional districts for hearings for public input. There'd obviously still be some commission discussion after that. At that hearing, I would certainly be also calling for a vote on the Somerset County District, which we've already seen and which both offices seem to think are fully appropriate. Also, okay if we do with that. Any objections? If not, I'll consider that to be the appropriate process. But again, I'm going to try to quickly look over here and see if I can see hands or concerns or whatever about how we're doing. Senator Bennett.
Yeah, just to be clear, Justice Alexander, there's a lot to unpack there, and I just want to be clear. At its essence, we're committing to a public hearing on Monday, the 20th of September.
Yes.
To review work to date so that the public can comment, and hopefully that will include all the maps, but there is in all the districts but there's a chance that it might not include the House. Is that what I'm hearing? To some
what you're hearing is, I hope it will include the House, but what I'm hearing is, yeah, we'll publish in advance if the House district maps aren't out by Friday.
Got it.
Or if they're out, excuse me, if the House district maps are out by Thursday.
Yes.
Then yes, we'd have it Monday. Otherwise, the focus of Monday would be the congressional, for public input for the congressional districts, the county commission districts, and the Senate districts. And then might even have a separate hearing on the House for like Tuesday.
And these maps will be available on the commission's webpage, right?
I hope I hope that at least the descriptions will be available. I don't know technically our webpage as opposed, we may have to rely on somebody else's webpage. We could certainly provide a description of how to look at the maps.
I would push to, we have the technology available to us. We're using the legislative system. I would push to make sure that all the maps and the descriptions, as you point out, are available on our webpage,
Okay.
so that the public is maximally informed and they can go to one place to see all this.
Let me ask our
Okay.
sort of experts on this thing. Emery Younger, perhaps Dave Emery, perhaps Greg Olson. Once we get the maps and the descriptions, I'm not worried about the descriptions. Will we be able to put the maps on the commissions as opposed to someone else's webpage?
Yeah, that should be doable. It looked like the map that Dave Emery shared was a PDF, and that's easy enough to upload to our website. And that way it would be publicly available, probably under the meeting materials tab or under a maps tab. So
Okay. And one of the issues is going to be when we get a house map. And I saw one of the ones in one of the caucus offices already. We're going to have to also blow that up and maybe have it displayed in sections. Might we be able to do that?
as long as they're in a PDF format, that shouldn't be an issue at all. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And Dave Emery, any comments, observations? Think we're going to be able to do that?
Yeah, we can. PDF is very easy to produce from my mapping system. You know, it's just a couple of clicks, so I should be able to provide detail. And of course, with the PDF, you can zoom in and blow it up or shrink it down. So I think that gives us maximum flexibility. Plus, everyone with a computer can access a PDF file these days.
Okay.
I think it's the best way.
Okay, Senator Bent, does that take care of your concern?
Yes, it does. And I appreciate your indulgence this morning with my multiple comments.
No. Don't forget, I'm not any great expert. We have experts. Emery Younger knows his tech stuff. Dave Emery knows his tech stuff. I'm with you. So I'm glad you're raising this to get things clarified. We have a comment from Stefan Hankin, who is one of the consultants with the Democratic Caucus.
Thank you, Justice Alexander. I was just going to say that obviously the ideal is that we have consensus on the maps, but if we're going to put out competing maps, and I don't know how feasible this would be on the House, but at least for the state Senate, if we are putting out two separate maps, I would so urge that we put out some context around each map. And since we've agreed on the criteria as a group, that we basically provide the information to the public whether or not each of the maps meets the criteria of the things that have been agreed to. So compactness, least disruption, keeping communities of interest together so that there's context around the two maps for the public to view.
Okay. Yeah, I think that if, I hope we're going to have consensus maps. If you don't have consensus maps, or perhaps we have maps that are mostly consensus that need a little adjustment, then okay. If we're looking at context beyond just description and recognizing the criteria, and I've seen no suggestion of maps that don't meet the several criteria that have been published, then I think it's going to be the responsibility of each side when there are differences to explain what the differences are, and also hopefully offer suggestions as to how the differences might be resolved. I don't know that I could be in a position, or the commission central office could be in a position to sort of give equal, say, well, the Republicans say this, and the Democrats say that, and this is the difference. I think at that point, if there are separate maps, the reasons for the separation should be discussed by the people who have drawn the maps, and why their map is more compliant with the criteria than the alternative map. Any other questions, observations? Okay. All right. Well, I will. That will be the plan then. That we meet on Monday, get maps out next week. Hopefully all, and certainly the three other than the House. But I really hope we get the House out too. With the next commission hearing scheduled for Monday the 20th. Again, starting at 9:30, and then with and then with a hearing on the House maps the following day, or the 21st or the 22nd, depending on when the House map or maps become available. And when I'm talking about maps, I want to emphasize again, that term, when I'm thinking about it, includes a map, but can also include a description, the way what we received, the equivalent of what we received from Somerset County yesterday. So anyways, all right. With that, I would propose to proceed to the eighth thing. First of all, asking any other business, and then opening up for public comment. And we have 3 or 4 people who wanted to and signed up properly to offer public comment. Any other business to suggest, and we're going to then discuss obviously the next meeting after that, because that's the last thing we discuss, but any other business to discuss before we open for public comment? Okay. And as I say, we have circulated to all of the commissioners, and we received a bunch of written comments, including one from the city of Portland, which was previously referenced, about certain districts there that create a particular problem for them because the challenges Portland has because of its size and its various divisions, not only for county commissioner and House and Senate districts, but also for city council districts, things like that. And we very much appreciate the time that the city took to put that in. Will certainly be part of our discussions, map making going on. But if there are no further comments or observations, I would then proceed with the public comment. And the first person I would open for public comment. And I say, as I've indicated before, the comments must be as the same thing as the committee chairs say in the legislature. The comments must be relevant to the apportionment issue, and they're obviously going to be time limited. Generally, tentatively at least specified a likely 5-minute time limit for the public comments, and then obviously whatever questions the commissioners have would be presented after that. The first one for public comment would be Kevin Lamoureux. Mr. Lamoureux, welcome if you're available. Get brought into the meeting. Do we have Kevin Lamoureux somewhere?
You're not
I
meeting.
think he's muted, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Lamoureux, you may have to unmute yourself or be unmuted by the central system.
Yeah, sorry about that. And let me get my video on so you can see my face and my bright yellow shirt. Okay, hi, I'm Kevin Lamoureux of Augusta. Happy to be here. Been following this process. I've followed redistricting I'm 40 years old, and I've been following this process, pretty actively since like I was in high school. Off and on when it happens every 10 years. I don't know. I have limited time. I've been digesting, everything I received in the meeting. Part of my plan here was to kind of comment on what other people said, and I ended up being a little bit late. But the Somerset County plan, when I first saw it, I thought, wow, I didn't like the District 5, how long and lengthy it was, but I tried to tweak the district along the Penobscot border to try to fix it, and there weren't really good options there. So I think that maybe I wasn't, at first I wondered if there's some common consideration, but it may be that they had the same math difficulty that I just discovered this morning. And I do remember way back, I had a bill, and I heard from Commissioner Sestak of Fairfield that there was a desire to have 2 districts that included the rural areas. And so I can definitely understand it. I know Franklin County, part of the move to try to increase the number of districts there is on that. So I've touched that. It's very, I'm sure you all know it's tough. You get a plan like doing the house districts. I usually often won't even worry about about when in general in the state, I won't even worry about like divisions within towns. I'll do what a kind of a cover plan or minimal conglomerates of whole towns and whole districts, and I'll have a good thing going, and then I'll hit a wall and I have to backtrack a little bit. With that said, I guess hopefully people have had a chance to look at my comments on Augusta. That's my hometown, and Augusta. One thing I've noticed is it's what you do at the state house level. What you do is in any city is it's affected by what you do elsewhere. But for any macro plan, for any conglomerate that Augusta is part of, there are certain lines that would be better. Certain areas that if you have Augusta with areas with towns on the west, you could have the east side be one district. If you have Augusta with towns to the east, you could have the current wards 1 and 3. And that line is Kennebec River, Memorial Bridge, State, Capitol, Sewell. Pretty neat line. You could have the area west of that in one district, and they're kind of corner lines you could use together. Or if Augusta's with Hollowell, you could actually have both of those and have the area between in with Hollowell, etc. So yeah, I feel like I've said what you just say. I'm sure I'll think of. Oh yeah, one more thing. The Portland clerk, she made her suggestion about the county commissioner districts didn't seem to be. You could get District 4 out of Portland, but you're going to have Portland's too big for one commissioner district, so you're going to have a line there. You could try to get it more conducive with ward lines, and I can understand having an area in kind of the northwest of the city in a district with South Portland doesn't seem ideal. Maybe Stroudwater would be a better fit, but Portland's too big for one district, so the clerk may have partly. That some of what she said wasn't entirely possible. I'm ready for any questions.
Okay, any questions from any of the commissioners for Mr. Lamoureux? Okay, one question I had, Mr. Lamoureux. My impression is your proposal for combining this side of this end of Augusta, I'm talking about the side of the state capitol, and with Hollowell, I think that would put two incumbents together. Is that right?
I don't think so, because let's see, there's currently one vacant seat, and in Augusta, and there's a special election, and under my plan, with part of Augusta being with Hollowell, the current Western District would expand. The east side incumbent is termed out. The Hollowell incumbent is termed out. So I don't think, I was thinking House, not Senate. I don't believe that's the case. I think Augusta, what you had to do with surrounding towns, if Attleboro no longer has the remainder of Augusta, you might have to do things there that would have a ripple effect. But right in Augusta itself, I don't think so.
Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Lamoureux? Okay, Mr. Lamoureux, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And our skilled sort of meeting host advises me that Mr. Lamoureux is the only one who both asked to be able to made a timely request to participate in the hearing today and ask questions, and actually showed up online to do it. So that concludes the public comment period. Thank you very much. And at this point, we'd go to the last item on the agenda, which is setting the next meeting. We've effectively already done that. Do we have any other comments about the meeting schedule?
Mr. Chair.
And the next meeting. Representative Kryzak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You mentioned that you're going to meet with the caucuses on Monday. Do you have a time that you're going to do that?
Haven't said it yet. I'm basically going to have, and I've had a lot of good informal conversations with them. I will have another sort of conversation today. I hope it would be something like late morning.
Okay.
I'm going to be here. I don't know what they're going to be here yet, and I'm not going to get into saying, okay, Dave Emery, you've got to get over here from the coast by 7:30 Monday morning. But, you know, I'm going to be here. I hope I will try to meet by late morning. I recognize that everybody that's doing this, you, everybody else, have other things going on in their lives. And so without sort of accommodating for that, and this is a high priority right now for all of us, I'm going to sort of be flexible and just try to aim for late morning. I'll probably communicate with the caucus heads later today to try to figure out an exact time. But all best I could say right now is late morning. Unless anybody else has any other observations on that. I basically want them to have some more time to do talking with each other today and early Monday morning. Any other observations on that? Is late morning okay from the caucus's perspective, from Dave Emery, from Greg Olson, from others who are involved in the caucuses who are here and around? Any problem with that for, you know, if, I don't know if Josh Tardy be available then, or whatever, the other people who have been the principals talking about it.
Mr. Chair, I can certainly be available then.
Okay. All right. So we'll be sort of looking for late morning. And I hope we're talking with a lot of issues before then, but whatever. Anything else? Any other observations? All right. Okay, so that's what the meeting is going to be. We'll be getting the schedules out. We'll be setting the next meeting itself will be set for for Monday, the 20th at 9:30, with certainly discussing the and public comment with advanced copies before then of the congressional districts, the Senate districts, and the county commissioner districts, and descriptions in advance, and all, and relying on the caucuses to develop maps that can then go on the commission website. And then probably a commission meeting, so it's folks are going to have to, you know, focus on spending a fair amount of time looking at the maps and then participating in the public hearings and hearing public comment on next Monday, and hopefully Tuesday, if not Tuesday, the latest Wednesday, for discussing the House map. And that way we could have at least separate sessions depending on what it is. And I might even try to organize it by following the particular sessions for particular parts of the hearing. But the problem is we don't know how many people want to speak on each. So that's going to be difficult to do beyond saying next Monday at 9:30, and probably, or hopefully, let's say next Tuesday at 9:30 also we'll be looking for a meeting. Next Monday at 9:30, I would be looking for votes right away on the Somerset County district, on districts, and on the decision that appears to have been made that we are not going to be doing any adjustments of the 6 districts that were within the county commission districts that were within the 5% range. So that's there. I'm not calling for a vote on that today, but is there anyone who disagrees with that part of the sort of discussion that was put out before, that that there would be no change, and we're not going to be doing any redistricting in Kennebec, Hancock, Kennebec, Lincoln, Oxford, Saginaw, and Washington. If anybody wants to do any districting there, come ahead. But as I'm assuming right now that we're not going to be doing any redistricting of those the districts in those 6 counties. So with that, and with the next meeting set for Monday the 20th at 9:30, and likely also Tuesday the 21st at 9:30. Anything else before we adjourn? Anybody have anything else to bring up? And again, don't be shy. I mean, you know, Rick Bennett keeps saying, well, I don't want to bring it up. Bring it up. You know, remember, I'm not on top of a lot of these things technically, and I appreciate his sort of helping to clarify what we're doing here. So anyways, anything else? Any other observations? Okay,
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
is there any reason why we can't vote on those county seats right now if everybody's already in an agreement on them?
Because I didn't indicate for the public that there would be a decision and vote on that today. That's
Okay.
the next one.
Okay.
I know the commission's in agreement with it, but where we're on decisions, we are going to be making that, because we're effectively, that would be effectively making the districting apportionment decisions for those 6 counties. I want there to be a public notice that that decision is going to be made. And for example, I will also be likely indicating that, yes, decisions will or at least may be made on next Monday's meeting with regard to the others, or we may defer if we can think going further can reach agreement. But that's why.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other observations, comments? Okay, well, then unless somebody objects, I'm going to declare the meeting adjourned, and look forward to probably communicating with a lot of you over the next week, and then seeing you participating in the meeting on Monday, the 20th, and Tuesday, the 21st. Thank you very much. And I want to emphasize again, because people say, well, the commission's not doing anything. Well, you know, because we haven't put out maps doesn't mean we're not doing anything. People are working very hard. I know that, having been here and seeing what's going on and bumping into some of you in the commission offices, along with legislative leadership and others. So thank you very much for these efforts. 2 more weeks of really hard work for us, and then probably some support work for the legislature the week or so after that. But anyways, it's much appreciated. You're putting in a lot of work, and that shows your dedication to public service and doing the right thing for the people of Maine. Thank you very much. Have a great day, weekend. There will be a busy one in the next few weeks. Thank you very much, and have a good one. Good day. I'll declare the meeting adjourned and closed. Thank you.
Thank you.